Hand forming is the process of transforming clay into various shapes by hand. Traditional hand forming in Jingdezhen can be classified into two kinds: forming round wares and zhuo, or irregularly shaped wares. Round wares means round rotary bodies made with one-step throwing. Examples of round wares include cups, bowls, plates and saucers. The forming of zhuo wares is much more complex than that of round wares, because the shapes of zhuo wares, such as teapots, vases, and jars, are more complicated, which require more processes like luting, carving, and trimming. In Jingdezhen, the forming of round wares is called throwing, while the forming of zhuo wares is named making greenware. Clay must be fully kneaded before throwing to remove the air and impurities in it.
活的，手上没劲的，要揉。我们拉小件还有拉大件拉，对，它其实靠挤压，它有复数挤压。好吧，现在就切一下就知道了，现在没有别的验收方法。你看这个还不行，这个它就破的嘛，切。
When throwing, a potter places clay on the throwing wheel, sets the rotating speed according to the size of greenware, and uses both his hands flexibly to form various shapes. Absolute focus and patience is indispensable for shaping. Any misoperation or carelessness would result in total failure. The forming of large-size porcelain and eggshell porcelain is much more difficult. Large-size porcelains need to be shaped through cooperation. Potters need to keep the same rhythm and strength, which is hard to maintain. Some large size of porcelains need to be formed separately by sections before they are luted for a whole body. The process is both time and energy consuming. Eggshell porcelains have a super thin body, which raises a higher demand for throwing. Throwing is a seemingly easy but actually hard skill. It requires a couple of years of repeated practices for an apprentice to become a professional under guidance of his master. All greenwares made by hand throwing must be trimmed after being dried to ensure they are of the same size and thickness with a smooth surface. Trimming masters would use trimming knives or blades of different radians to trim the greenwares to achieve desirable shapes. There is an old saying in Jingdezhen that throwing accounts for 30% of forming while trimming for 70%, which vividly reflects the importance of trimming. It would even take 5 to 10 years for a trimming apprentice to grow into a skilled master. Now, let's enjoy the process of making a teapot to display forming wares. The body, lid, mouth and handle of the teapot need to be formed separately before they are luted. the newly thrown greenwares must be fully dried. They can be put on a shelf or on the ground under the sun, if necessary. For natural drying, the drying duration depends on weather conditions and greenware sizes. Some large size wares even need to be dried up to half a year. Greenwares that contains much moisture tend to crack during firing. When greenwares are formed, the next step goes in two ways. Greenwares for underglaze decoration such as blue and white and color glaze can be decorated directly with painting or applying glazes. Greenwares for overglaze decoration like gukai, fenkai, and zinkai must be glazed and fired to produce white porcelain body before being decorated with enamels. Glaze is a layer of glass-like substance on the surface of porcelain. Only when greenwares are glazed and fired can they become porcelains with smooth and glossy surface. The glaze applied to the greenwares are made of glaze stone and ashes mixed with water. Both the outside and inside of greenwares need to be glazed. Glazing methods vary according to different shapes. Some common glazing methods include dipping, blowing, splashing, shaking.